Now we can hit record. There we go. We're recording. It's correctly. It's working now. I'm doing it right. I'm doing it correctly this time. It's technically my job, but I have finally figured out how to maybe do it correctly. Hello. Hello, YouTube. Hello, people in chat. Hello, everyone. Welcome to some Witch Hat Atelier. And the first thing I want to tell you about Witch Hat Atelier before we so much as watch a second of this anime is you should read Witch Hat Atelier. You should, you should go library, go to the bookstore, go, whatever you need to do, read Witch Hat Atelier. The anime, I'm sure, good. It's very pretty. I'm gonna go insane about some shit that happens in it, I'm sure. But read it. You have to read it. You have to read it. If you love this story, you have to read it. I want to get this, and I'll say this, I think, at the opening of every single one of the episodes of my reactions. You have to read Witch Hat Atelier. You don't understand. You have to read it, and the thing they have to do when you read it, you have to read it slowly. Right? Because it's like lots of comics and stuff. Like, one of the wonderful things about comics is you can read them a lot faster than a book, right? Because it's pictures. You can you can scan it, you can parse it, you can see what's going on, like you can read the dialogue, and you can go real fast. Like, if you want to catch up on One Piece, read the manga. Like, that'll fucking get you there in a couple of weeks. But Witch Hat Atelier, you need to read it. And you need to read it slowly. And you need to look at the illustrations. You have to. I promise. If you love the anime, if you love what the anime is doing, I promise you, you have to read it. You have to read it slowly, because I read Witch Hat Atelier up until volume 7, I think, 6 or 7, some time ago, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. I haven't read any further ahead. I'm not caught up with it, but the sheer level of craft that the mangaka puts into this comic, the sheer level of joy and love and whimsy, and the application of the medium of comics, right? Not just, oh, it's a manga with pretty pictures in it, but like the shit that she does with panels, the way that she breaks panels, the way that she guides your eyes across a page and makes you follow like the motion and movement of characters and that, like it's astonishing. And the way that she does it in a cross-hatching style that reminds me of like the fucking like the woodcut engravings or like bronze engravings of someone like a Doré. It's an astonishing piece of technical craft. If you love art, if you love drawings at all, you have to read Witch Hat Atelier. Watch the anime too. Also, yes, absolutely. And once you have watched the anime, read the manga. If for no other reason as I understand it, the anime makes a bunch of changes from the manga, like in terms of how some things it presents and things like that, which I think are in part in collaboration with the author, who's made some changes to like how she wants her story to be presented. But the manga is a little bit different. There's some it handles a few things differently, and that's interesting. But just like the art, you have to believe me. Just trust me on this one. You have to believe me. The artwork in this manga is something else, right? Lots of pretty manga out there, lots of very good artists making, but this is something else. This is something different. You need to read it. Anyway, that's enough of that. If you've not been along to one of my anime reactions before, yes, it usually does take this long for me to get started. Glad you noticed. This is just kind of how the way that I am. But the other way that I am is I'm lazy. I don't want to do a bunch of editing work to have to get around copyright and stuff, and so I am not going to show you any of the anime. All you're going to see is this mostly empty screen with a little bit at the bottom where the subtitles go, and a timestamp in the top left that will let you know where we are in the story. And you're going to use those because you're going to have your own copy of Witch Hat Atelier anime on your own screen, and you're going to be playing along with me by me going 3, 2, 1, go, and me going 3, 2, 1, pause, and we're going to stay in sync, right? And that's the way we're going to do it. I'm explaining it poorly this time, but you'll have to deal with it. That's the way we do it, because that way I don't have to put copyrighted footage on screen very much, and I can avoid copyright strikes, and I can avoid having to edit this video to within an inch of its life. Like, I am not Danny Mata over here. He works very hard on those fucking edits, let me tell you. So that's easier for me, and I'm lazy, and that's the way we're doing it. But if you think that's very inconvenient, you're right. The more convenient way to watch it is to be in chat live when we're recording these things, which you can do if you join the Discord server. I'll post a link on the community page thing on the channel every once in a while, or you can become a member of the channel, in which case you will have access to some more convenient versions of these reactions that are easier to deal with. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can just stay right here and like suffer through my yapping and my poor explanations as we get into Witch Hat Atelier. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. We're immediately, you motherfuckers. Okay, so it's doing an ink thing, right? Like this is ink being dropped into water, essentially, which like that's a digital effect that's like 3D generated in some sort of software or whatever. But then they congeal it. How do they do that? How do they do that? Yeah, lots of grain. That grain isn't there at first, but then they add it, and then they use the grain to cohere. And I guess maybe it's like they animated them, and then they put like a mask over it, and it's just like a clipping mask that only shows the ink inside the clipping. I don't know. The aesthetic of this, like it's animated on 2s, right? The aesthetic of this is certainly the aesthetic of 2D animation. It could be a 3D model doing it. Like, that's quite hard to tell when it's just a silhouette. But I'm looking at this, the astronaut figure. Yeah, that looks 2D animated to me. It doesn't have that geometric perfection that you would expect. And you can see these ink designs starting to rise up along the line of it. And, like, we're really working the differential animation timing. You can see how they're separating this all into layers. So the astronaut and the pop star move on the same frame. And then the whale and the runner. And it all helps the whole thing, like, seem alive. Beautiful. Yeah, so it's like, I suspect they 2D animated the outlines, like line drawings, and then the visual effects artists had to put a lot of, like, you can see you had this ink glow effect where you get these blues, tiny hint of purple here and there. That sort of gives, like, that makes it more than just a black outline, but gives it, like, this sense of being a really dark blue ink that becomes black in a sufficient concentration. And, like, that fucking... Look at that horse. Like, the way it's gonna come into screen here, right? And then it's gonna turn its head. And, like, the whole bot. God damn, that's really nice. And, like, props to... Because the artist has to manage, like, because they have to stay silhouettes, right? Like, they have to stay fairly, like, very flat silhouettes. But if you want to do something where it eclipses and occludes itself, you can see how they have to outline the shape of the head and the neck against the wings, and they have to change those outlines. Same thing with the legs as they come up here. They have to choose, like, where they put these glow effects to make the 3-dimensionality of it read. That's really good. And then these fucking ink wash outlines. Like, this is something they're copying quite strongly from the manga, is like that specific approach to rendering smoke and clouds and volume with these, like, loose, very fluid strokes. That's very much also how it's done in the manga. And then there's the book. Let me have a... Okay, you can see line boil happening all over the book itself, which to me indicates that, yeah, this thing was animated frame by frame. I would assume No, actually. Okay. I was about to say, presumably rotoscoped over a 3D model, but it actually doesn't look like it because there's some inconsistencies that you wouldn't expect from a pure rotoscope. That's interesting. Because the other thing that happens is as we transition from here to here, you can see there's a fade, right? Like where the pages fade. Now the book is a 3D object. Or at the very least, a 2D object with a lot of 3D texture projection happening on top of it. And then the hand. I think the hand might be 3D? Maybe? Or not. I'm not seeing the line inconsistency that I would expect from 2D animation. But, like, who the fuck knows? Like, anime productions these days have gotten very, very, very good at compositing their 3D. I suspect this is 3D, but it could also just be an artist who's, like, insane about perfectly rotoscoping shit. And then we have, like, another fade here. As we do, like, this picture book pop-up, you can see, in order to transition from this motion graphic into the static illustration, we do a little fade. Not the most elegant thing in the world, but it works. And this is like the whole Witch Hat Atelier manga is like this, with these like heavy use of these stippled lines and little hatches, like to show volume and form on everything. Like you can stare yourself blind. I have like find the digital versions of the manga if you can. I know that they're out there. Because then you get like really high resolution images and you can zoom the fuck in on them and really check out just the sheer level of some motherfucker had to sit there and hatch all that shit. Someone had to put down all those lines. Just the level of scratching and noodling that goes along with making an illustration like that. And then we get a final fade from the style of the actual manga into how the anime is going to choose to interpret it, right? And here, you can spend a long time just talking about these adaptational choices. Right, like one major difference, of course, is you see these concentric circles that are rendered in the translucent water, which isn't rendered in this illustration. Like, God, I had to resist the temptation to have the manga here, and then I had an idea in my head. I wanted to just go through the whole episode and compare every single thing that happens to how it looks in the manga, but that video for the first episode would have been 8 to 9 hours long. Which I don't know. Like that, maybe that's a project for another day. Maybe today we just watch it, right? Like for a given value of just watch it. Like just watch it brackets TBSkyen style, which means slowly, but maybe not that slowly. Anyway, that was the intro. 3, 2, 1. Go. The sway in her dress. Like the way the fucking fabric. That's another thing about Witch Hat Atelier, the manga. Fabric. The way fabric falls, the way that fabric like bends and the weight of it across a figure. Gorgeous. Absolutely astonishingly gorgeous. And the anime seems to be following suit. 3, 2, 1, pause. I do need to take a look at that cloth animation. Because, like, it's not just, like, again, the negative comparison here is effective. Because one thing you'll see with a lot of anime characters, especially anime characters that wear dresses, right, is that their dresses tend to be kind of stiff, right, in animation. Because animating fabric and cloth, like, realistic with the weight and the hanging and the all of it, like, that's fucking time intensive, right? It's like, so you get a lot of anime girls who wear dresses, and they all just wear whalebone fucking corsets or whatever, and they wear like fucking crinolines in there or whatever, because the skirts are like, yeah, they'll flop a little bit in the wind, like they'll do a little wobbly, like when the wind moves through them, but for the most part, they are very stiff structures, right? Like that sort of just hold their shape because they kind of just need to stay on model with the costuming. This is one of the things that drove me insane in that one ballroom episode of Frieren. But this is not that, right? Like, this is not that. Here, the cloth has a weight. You can see how it has this, like, as she walks, it has this sine wave where it swings one side, the other side, one side. This little... right? Where it follows like the step of her feet, and you get the weight of it. This cloth has weight, right? Like it doesn't just float. It doesn't just stick to the character and like float along with them where they move. It falls, right? And when she sits down, she has to pay attention. She has to be conscious of the weight and the mass and the fall of the cloth. So she pulls the fabric out of the way to squat down, so like she layers it over her knee, and she has to manage that, right? Like, it's the cloth is not just costume, it's like a physical presence that she has to, in the way that you have to do when you have like long cloth that's flopping, but you do have to grab it and hold it and like get it out of the way and fold it properly. This is another one of the things that drives me insane with the manga, like the way that the mangaka uses fabric and the fold of fabric over the body to accentuate a character's posture or the gesture of what they're doing is genuinely next level. And this is trying to aspire to that. That's a complex fucking operation. You can see, like, we have as she leans forward here, a new fold forms in the cloth. And the artist animated that by, like, slowly drawing a line down over that indicates the fold, right? And it's not just like the person animating the line work, like the lighting artist, the person who's handling like the lighting and the colorists have to be fucking on the ball as well, because that's a lot. That is so many surfaces of light and shadow that have to be rendered out. They surely cannot keep that up for the whole anime, but goddamn. This is Sakuga to me, right? I know Sakuga is like, I have big explosions and characters fighting punch. Like, this is Sakuga. This is an attention to physicality. Goddamn. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, look at that fucking background. Fuck you. Hang on. 3, 2, 1, pause. We'll get through this by the end of the day, I promise. Oh, they're copying the fucking... Are they gonna do that for all the backgrounds? Surely not. They're copying the stipple line approach to volume rendering. you can see it, like these little parallel lines that are hatched into the side. Like, they're not doing it 100%, right? Like, they're not fully rendering all of the scene in the style of the manga, but like they are making these little gestures, these little choices to, like, here and there we incorporate the stippling style from the manga into the backgrounds. Right? Like, they choose their places, like, it seems to be mostly on hard objects and hard surfaces. Like, a little bit in the grass here in the foreground, but mostly that's painted. You can see, like, these quick paint strokes with stipples. But then occasionally they're like, okay, we're going to do the ink stipple, just like in a few accent places here and there along the background. That's really cool. It's a gorgeously composed background too. Like, this is classic fucking fantasy anime background stuff as well, right? Like, in the sense of, you have these rolling hills, like, up and down. You have this path that leads through the rolling hills, and you have, like, these layers of, like, depth that are created by, like, the crests and the roll of, like, each bit of the landscape. But the softness of the painting in the background here really gives it a lovely volume to it. Ooh, very pretty. 3, 2, 1, go. Wait a minute. Okay, right. Oh, fuck. 3, 2, 1, pause. This, I mean, if one of the ways that I get away with doing this on YouTube is, like, the basic rule of fair use is that you have to use only as much as you need and no more, right? Like, you can't just play back a whole episode of anime and go, wow, cool. Ooh, that's great. Like, you have, and I will say, I do think like, my content falls under fair use, because, like, I'm going to be stopping every 14 to 15 seconds here. So, like, the approach of the carriage alone, again, hang the fuck on here. Yeah, that looks hand animated to me. I don't. Again, the smart thing to do is probably to use a 3D object for rotoscoping purposes, but that is such a smooth, like, it's one of the things is, like, if you want to animate a character quickly making movements, that's actually reasonably easy, because you don't need, like, fast movements need fewer frames, right? Like, because the fewer frames you use, the faster emotion seems, right? If a character blinks from one position to another, from frame to frame, then it looks like they're moving really fast, right? The hard thing is slow movement. The hard thing is when a carriage is coming in, and in the air, it does this slow, gentle tilt to the side. And, like, it's not perfect. I can see a few, like, if you pay attention to the way that the wheel doesn't transform 110% correctly with the change in angle. But it's so goddamn good. Like, it's little things. Like, mistakes are not a bad thing. Like, I don't expect, like, on a 3D model, right? Like, on a 3D model, you would expect the wheel to be 100% geometrically consistent across the translation, like, across the tilt and twist. The wheel isn't. You can kind of see that it sort of morphs a little bit rather than but it's so fucking smooth. Holy shit. And it's not just the carriage, right? Like, it's the carriage. It's like this thing is the dude who's sitting on it. And it's the fucking Pegasi that are twisting in the air as well. God damn. And then, of course, we follow up with, and here we get like our first 100% for sure definite taste of 3D, right? Because they let the hut, which has a witch hat on it, which I think is adorable also. The hut is a 3D object that's rotating. We have a 2D painted background that they're just scrolling along with the rotation to sort of give that illusion. But the fucking carriage is still hand animated. Coco is still hand animated. I can't be 100% sure, but I think they hand animated the fucking washcloths that are hanging out to dry. And, like, the compositing here is gorgeous. Because, like, you can tell it's a 3D object. You can tell that it doesn't interact with light quite the same way as... Like, in the same way, like, you can tell when something is animated on a different cell from the background kind of thing. You can tell it's a 3D object, but... they put a lot of work into texturing that thing. Like, one of the old tells, right? Like, or even still, like, one of the ways you can always tell when something is 3D animated in anime, right? Is that the texture is wrong, right? That... like, monsters in low-budget isekai, right? Like, when they do these crap-ass 3D monsters, you can tell in many ways, but one of the ways that's very obvious is because the texture is completely fucked, right? Like, the texture is completely wrong. It is relying on, like, a simulation of cell shading that's not very pretty. And so in good anime that's good at using 3D, you can tell they sink a lot of time into choosing textures for the objects to make them match the illustration so that if you just pause and you let it stand still for a second, your eyes can kind of go, oh shit, is that... oh no, you can see it in motion. And of course, the classic thing, they play with that differential timing again, right? Like where the background is moving every frame, but the house is only rotating every other frame. And I think, yeah, they synchronize the house's rotation also with the movement of the carriage. And with Coco's movements. Which helps join those things together a little bit visually and smooth them together. Boy, that's a pretty 3D shot. That's a very good use of 3D as well. Because it doesn't take anything away from the 2D animation, right? Like, it's not like we're being denied good 2D animation because they chose to do it in 3D. It's like, it's because 3D is just the most efficient way to render a shot like this with 6,000 billion roof tiles rotating. Oh, that's pretty. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, they're doing really good with Coco's. You can see how excited she is. Like, the way she can't contain herself, and she is running back and forth. Oh, God damn it. Okay. 3, 2, 1, pause. We'll just pause before the pretty man nuke is dropped on the series. But another, like, her excitement is so cute. Like, she dances in place, and she's like, she's gonna run down. You can see that she has the impulse. She's gonna run down immediately, and then she goes, oh, wait, no, right, I need to, oh, right, this. You can see the excitement that's in there in her physicality. It's like, oh my God, I have to go say, I have to, no, wait, I have to. Like a puppy dog. It's so cute. And little things. Another thing. Backgrounds in animation, right? Like, I've complained about this 100 million times. You've heard it before. But there's definitely a lot of anime. My Hero Academia in the early seasons was really, really bad at this. Where the backgrounds are just kind of stages, right? Like, the background is just like a background that's there, and then the characters are acting in it. But the actual physical elements of the background, like the things that are in the shot, the things that are in the space, are not really objects that characters ever interact with. They are just backdrop for characters to have dialogue with one another or punch each other in the face or whatever. So one little thing that I really appreciate is just small stuff when a character physically interacts with the background, right? Like when she's about, like she wants to get down this thing really quickly, she'll swing herself around and use that to support herself. Little things like that. And it's like, once you start paying attention to it, the question of how often does a character actually interact with objects in the scene or objects in the background, you'll start to notice how much it doesn't happen in a lot of anime. But this whole tracking shot, right? Like we have a flat 2D background, just an illustration. And so we're zoomed in on it, and then the camera just tracks Coco, and then the animator, God, I want to see. I would pay money. I would pay money for a version of this whole scene, this whole sequence, this shot, where we, instead of the camera following, right? Like we have this tracking camera thing. If they just zoomed out, so I could just see the animation tracking all the way through the background, that would be lovely. Because this is another quiet little Sakuga thing. Because, think about it. This, Coco is moving from being relatively far in the background up here, right? Well, the middle ground, more like. She's moving from there to here, right? And she's moving relative to the position of the camera, right? So the way that you have to draw her from here, when the camera is looking straight at her at the same level, is very different than the way you have to draw her when the camera is looking down at her from above. And like they have, when the animator is moving the character through this scene, they have to make her larger and smaller relative to where she is by the camera in a way that feels consistent with the background, right? So they have to manage that. And then they have to turn her slowly. She has to turn from being seen directly from the front to being seen from the top down, right? Like revealing different aspects. And the fact that you don't notice it, right? This shot, it feels like nothing. It feels like nothing at all. You don't notice that there's a ton of hard work being done here. It just looks right. It just looks correct. And that is non-trivial, but the fact that it just like, you just go, oh yeah, like she's running and she's good down. But look at the change in perspective. Look how much, like, fucking from the top-down bird's eye perspective, you're looking down at Coco relative to where we started, where we were almost looking a little bit up at her. That's non-fucking trivial, man. Oh, hey, this is a little shot where we focus on the journal. I wonder why we're doing that. That's probably not important. Don't worry about the journal. The journal is fine. Anyway, time for Bishonen. 3, 2, 1, go. That man is a normal level of attractive, right? He's a normal level. That's like he's like a 5, 6, right? Puppy. You have to get this right, anime, by the way. You have to do it right, because this is actually really, really important. You might... Yes! Yes! This is really, really important. I cannot stress this enough. This moment is so important to Coco's introduction. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. So one thing I want to look at, just a sec. Yeah, it's a little thing, but okay. Not quite to the level of dungeon meshy, but I do like that the three ladies here have distinct eyes. They don't have, like, they're similar. They're supposed to be rendered similar. Presumably they're sisters. But they do have slightly different eye shapes. But more than that, something I really do appreciate is they've kept that from the manga as well. You can see that Coco's mom has, like, this slightly downturned, right? Like, slightly heavier lids. Especially relative to Coco, who's, like, puppy dog eyes. But you can kind of see that same downward slope on it. And I do like that. Like, that's another thing, is like, another one of my many, many complaints is like, there is definitely anime where faces are treated as... And this is by necessity, to a certain extent, right? Like, the reason anime faces look the way they do, there's many reasons. It has to do with, like Japanese art history, it has to do with production history, but it's also because the faces that are in anime are faces which are relatively easy to render and draw. And which are very expressive because they have huge eyes and things like that. But there is definitely a tendency for the anime face to be, you know, a copy-paste job, right? Same face syndrome is a thing that's, like, not really so much a thing in a problem in anime as it is a very deliberate design decision, stylistic choice that exists in a lot of anime, and that I find makes the character design in them oftentimes quite poor. This is one of my criticisms, like, not that I'll ever do videos about it, but things like Love Live, for example. Lots of the gacha things, it's one of the things of, like, you have these characters that are supposed to be, you have to be excited to wail for the 5-star new character, whatever, but then it's like, it's just the same person with the same face and a different eye color. And a different, but it's just the costume and the hairdo. But, like, the body, the face, the actual, like, do they have a different nose? No. Do they have a different mouth? No. Do they have a different set of cheekbones? No. Do they have like, all these things you can do to add character to a face. All these things you can do to add character to a body, right? Like, where someone has slightly broader shoulders or someone has maybe wider hips. Like, there's so many things you can do, like, to change the dimensionality of a person's body that so much anime never takes advantage of. In part because doing that makes them harder to animate, right? Like that, and it's a legitimate thing when you have, like, low-budget anime. Sometimes you just want characters that are simple to draw and easy to keep on model, and you don't want to have the animators have to learn 45 different faces to draw from every conceivable angle that they'll be needed for. And so there's a budgetary constraint, right? Like, there's reasons for that. And one of the things I love about Dungeon Meshi in particular is that Dungeon Meshi doesn't do that. Dungeon Meshi is a show, I will say, still has the best character design in anime. Like, Ryu Kukui is genuinely one of the best working character designers in manga and anime today because she loves physical difference. She loves taking advantage of the ways that people can look different. Most anime doesn't go quite that far. I would say that Witch Hat Atelier also falls a little bit more on the costuming rather than physicality as, like, the main differentiator of character design. It's a little bit more on that spectrum, but I do like that the anime does make a point of giving Coco's mom in particular, like, a distinct face. She looks like an adult woman is one thing. Also, she looks like she's in her 30s, like mid to late 30s or whatever, right? She doesn't look like she's a 15-year-old because all the other 15-year-olds have the same face as her or have exactly the same look. Like, it's not that she has like massive crow's feet or like a lot of stuff, but just there's a dimensionality and a character to it that makes her look like an adult, and I do like that. Because that's the other thing about same face syndrome, is it does mean that in a lot of anime, adults and children just look the same. And there's no meaningful difference in the way that their faces are put together, except that adults have slightly smaller eyes, right? And it's, you know. But anyway, this scene, you don't know yet, and I'm not going to explain it, but you don't know how important this scene is to Coco. You don't know how important this scene is to who Coco is as a character and how to understand her. But what I want you to take away from it is that Coco is an incredibly skillful craftsman in the craft that she's pursued, right? She has practiced this shit. She knows her shit. She knows how to do it. And she can basically kind of do it just through physical understanding, right? Like this practiced sense of calmness that allows her to do something like that so smoothly and so perfectly. Keep that in mind about her. Because when Kiefer points it out, like, Kiefer makes a deal out of it, right? Like, wow, this is real magic. That's not just a throwaway thing. Keep that in mind. And it's an interesting thing about his character as well, that he also loves that. He really appreciates that. Even despite of everything he can do, he looks at her cutting cloth and doing a beautiful job of it. And he is charmed, right? Like, he appreciates it. That's important for the themes of the story, so keep that in mind. Anyway, let's see Coco's backstory, where nothing suspicious is gonna happen. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be completely fine. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, 3D book. You can tell we're in a flashback because the lighting gets all golden and glowy. Interesting. Okay. Three, two, one, pause. Couple of things here. Okay, they've changed the scene a little bit. Not a lot, but ooh, the way they animate the witch. Look at that. Like, fucking, it's, like, there's the little things, like the tassels on the mask, just, like, kind of, but also, like, they're doing full animation here on the whole thing, right? Like, there's no lip flaps or whatever. The whole body is moving with every frame of motion. You get, like, the whole body, and it gives this sense of something that's almost like a mollusk or something a little bit slimy, something that's like something that's alive in a strange way, right? This forward head push, magic is a miracle that makes this world vibrant. Like, that forward head push, it's uncanny, right? Like, it gives you this sense of, like, yeah, oh, this is not right, this is not good. Like, oh, that's a little creepy. And it's because they are deliberately over animating the character. Like, that's essentially what's happening here. Is, if you know, okay, this is an odd comparison to make, but if you know the CDI Legend of Zelda games, right? Like the Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon. One of the reasons the cutscenes in that game look the way they do is because everything is massively over animated, right? They are animating way too much for what they're actually trying to do, right? Like, Link, my boy, this is the piece that alter, like, where the characters move too much. This is a little bit the same thing, where they are deliberately animating the character too much, more than is necessary, more than what's needed, and it makes their motion, their way of moving, comes off as just like a little bit, something is a little bit wrong about them, especially when you compare to how Coco is animated, right? Because she's still. There's a stillness to her that the witch doesn't have. And that's a really good way to make this character creepy. Really fucking creepy in a very good way. And then these little... Oof. I'm especially curious about... Yeah, look at these fucking transformations. Oh, they do keep it consistent, too. That's really cool. Because, like, it's one thing to transform... Like, to have the one thing turn into the other. It's something else when... you actually consistently animate that this Pegasus becomes the tree and the deer. That one becomes the outline and the trees there, and then the carriage forms the... Like, you can see the way that the shapes flow into one another. And you get this shadow puppet flatness to them, like paper clips. That's really nice. And then, of course... the glow. Yeah, they're frame by frame animating it. They're actually frame, because it's one thing, like, you can spawn all these little things and then you can just kind of move them. But there's a wobble to them that makes me think, I think they redrew the sparkles frame by frame here. And it's so pretty. It's so simple, right? Like, they're not really doing much. They have, like, an alpha glow effect, like, that's being added in post or whatever. And then all it is just these little bright white blobs that they just move very slowly. But all together, look how pretty that is. Another thing, we talked about Coco's mom's face, right? Hey, she looks a lot younger here. And it's little things. Like, I think all they really did was slightly shorten her proportions. I think her eyes maybe are slightly bigger and there's not, like, that little bit of line. But she looks noticeably younger. She doesn't look like a child. She still doesn't look like she's 15 or whatever. But she does look like, oh, that's a younger woman, actually. Little things, but character design, right? Where you can see the life of the character is told in their body, right? That the life she has led from this point, like, and also she's at a festival, she's probably wearing a bit of makeup, right? She's probably making herself look good. But little things where you can see that the life this woman has led since this moment has had some consequences for her, right? Like, has done something to her. But what a fun way to render this flashback. Especially if we take a look at the sky here. This is Impressionism, is what they're mimicking. With a little bit of pointillism in there, maybe, to a certain extent, like this. But essentially, they're mimicking Impressionist paintings with the way they're rendering the backgrounds here, like these very quick sketches of light. There's a little bit of Van Gogh in there, maybe also, maybe a little bit, just in the way that they render like the flow and stipple along the buildings. Like a little bit of that, like the very beginnings of modern art and modern painting that sort of come along with Van Gogh in his period. Maybe a little bit of that, but much more Impressionism is in there. With these, like, you can just see it, because with Impressionism, right? Like, one of the things about Impressionism is the Impressionists essentially rejected the idea of a fully finished and rendered painting to a certain extent. They would go out, they would set up their easels, and then they would very quickly paint, right? With these very quick brushstrokes, very rough painting, really, where they were just very quickly trying to capture the light because they were trying to capture an impression of the light, an impression of the scene, and not like render it beautifully down to the finest detail or whatever, but the point was this is capturing this moment, right? So you go fast. And so Impressionist paintings often, not always, like there were many, like art history is complicated and there's always exceptions and there's always people doing all kinds of different shit. But with Impressionist paintings, you'll often get these stabs, right? Like these, like, where you can see like the paintbrush is not trying to render the specific outline of a cloud. The paintbrush is just kind of splat, 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 right? Like splashing along the painting to capture the light quickly. That's a fun way to render a memory. Because Impressionism also had the tendency to be kind of indistinct like that, because they weren't carefully rendering edges and shit like that. You would get these paintings that often felt kind of airy or a little bit, like, not blurry, but like not sharp in the way that like a fully rendered, like more classical style painting would be. Like, say classical style as though that's a thing, but you know what I mean. And that's a really good aesthetic to choose for a memory, because memories have a tendency to be like that, right? Like, you don't remember the sharpness of every detail, but you remember the light, you remember the feeling of it, you remember the impression of the moment more than you remember the specifics. That's a fun way to render a memory. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, the pun. I want to see how they render this. Yes! Oh, that's good. 3, 2, 1, Pause. So again, read Witch Hat Atelier. I cannot stress this to you enough. You have to go and read Witch Hat Atelier. This is a really good way to render this, like with a picture book pop-up. But this illustration in the manga it's very closely copied. Not 100%. It's very closely copied. This illustration in the manga is just drop dead fucking gorgeous. It's in the early chapters, you can find it, but the manga version of this illustration is something special. This is a really good way to render it. It's a very impressive way to do it too, like this slow unfolding of the figure. Like a pop-up picture book that's very clever. By the way, Keyfree's little introduction here is a demonstration of something. Which is like, fellas, it's not about what you wear, it's about how you wear it, right? The pointed hat is objectively kind of a silly thing, right? It's a dunce cap, essentially, right? It's silly. It's a silly thing to wear, but if you put it on and you do a little thing like that, and your outfit supports it, you can, like, it'll work for you. You don't even have to be a white-haired Bishonen. I promise you. It's about how you wear it. It's that little flourish he does where he pulls the ribbon out of the way. Again, managing the physical qualities of his appearance, right? Like, fucking the weight of the cape as well. We can't go over it every single time they do something cool with fabric, but the slow fall of the cloak when he does that little whipping the ribbon out. And then Coco. Animating on her ones, so she can go really fast, right? Animated on ones, which is the most you can possibly animate a character. But that's what gives her that all of a sudden, like, very, like... Sonic the fucking Hedgehog over here. Because they animated her on ones, again, to get that excitement out of her. 3, 2, 1, go. I love the damage on the building as well. Wah, wah. Wah, wah. Again, setup and payoff, right? Like, we set this scene up earlier. That little hatch on the top of the roof is open. And so we repeat the little walk down the stairs. Oh, very good. Just like from a direction and cinematography standpoint, that's very good. Ooh, yes. Because, like, they have to get that drawing animation right. The sign painter motherfucker. If you've ever seen... Yes! Jesus Christ. Three, two, one, pause. The drawing, again, this is the magic system of Witch Hat Atelier, which you might know already, is that spells are drawings, right? And the specific way that you draw the spell determines what the spell does. And they'll get into more detail about this. One of the things about Witch Hat Atelier fans is they have decoded the magic system and figured out, okay, I've made a spell that would technically boil someone's blood in their veins if you cast. They've just gone ahead and done that immediately. But this is one of the important core things about Witch Hat Atelier and what it's trying to do with its themes, because Witch Hat Atelier is about art. It's about drawing. Like, at the very deep down, at the very core of it, that's the theme it's examining. It's examining what it means to draw, what it means to be an artist, what creativity means, right? Both for the better and for the worse. This is the core of what the story is dealing with. All the other stuff is layered on top of that, but that's the core of it. And the thing I want you to notice about how they present the animation here is, you see that practiced smoothness with which Keyfree is drawing the spell, those perfectly curved lines that he's doing, almost seemingly without even really thinking, just muscle memory. Hey, what was Coco doing with that piece of cloth earlier? What was, like, was she animated in kind of a similar way, actually, in the smoothness of the strokes that she was putting down? Oh, hey! That's why it's important that that animation is correct, right? Like, that they actually really very carefully manage how they present the animation of drawing things, because again, this is why Keyfree appreciated Coco's steady hand so much. It's because it's craft, right? Like, it's the same craft as what he's doing, essentially. It's that mechanical, physical competence, right? This practiced hand, which can do things just through repetition and concentration. If you've ever seen, sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, like, who knows with For You pages and stuff, I occasionally get these videos of sign painters on my short form videos, right? Sign painters with their little brushes, like with these long tails on them, and they just do these perfect curved strokes, and they draw these perfect smooth fucking lines right across, like, just like with just smooth as anything, and it makes me angry every single time because it's so perfect. Meanwhile, whenever I'm drawing, I'm there like, nope, that circle is wrong, Control Z. 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 That line, oh, nope, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control. Like, I'm redoing lines so many fucking times. Like, not that I don't have a practiced smoothness of my own as well. Like I have done it for a long time, but the flow state, like the feeling of being in your craft and knowing what you're doing and seeing it slowly come together, that's the fucking emotional core of this fucking story, is craft. And I'm so glad they did such a good job of animating it so consistently. Oh, the visual effects animators are having fun with that trail effect. That's fucking sexy, man. and the little settle, like he has that tassel at the end of his pen, and then he finishes the line, and then the tassel just kind of goes whoop whoop. That little settle is the thing that makes it. Ooh, cool detail. You see how the wind pressure, the magic, sort of, it actually follows the contours of the spell seal? That's quite nice. Another little thing, that fucking ribbon. Oh, they're having fun with that. Letting that whip. Beautiful. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which I love that house. Little fucking blobs on blobs. It's such a cute building. I just think, I mean, that Coco's mom has, Coco has a good looking mom. That she, I won't say any more than that. In the manga, the panel of this shot, go take a look at it. It's so good. Ooh, that's a good way to do it. Yes. What a... Oh, my God. 3, 2, 1, pause. Coco when she gets to be excited. And again, like, the animator's really paying attention to the fall and weight and secondary motion of, like, the dress and her hair. She's so cute. This is, like, again, this is when you're a young artist and you draw something for the first time that looks kind of good, and maybe it's your OC's kissing or whatever, this is what it feels like. In my case, it was the first time I managed to draw a cool action shot of someone getting punched really, really hard that kind of looked like it does in Dragon Ball. It was a terrible drawing, but it was the first time I felt like, oh shit, I've captured some of that energy. I've done the speed lines and shit. That was the feeling. Right? Not that you necessarily dance around like that, but that's what it feels like inside. The joy of making something that, like, that came out right. And, like, eventually you get jaded, right? Like, you get it's like you get jaded out of it a little bit. You get kind of tired and exhausted, and sort of you start looking at more and more cool art and going, oh man, mine isn't as good as that. And, like, you sort of beat yourself down a little bit with expectations and things, and the excitement starts to fade a little bit, and then it starts to fade a lot, and then eventually you burn out and crash. And that's just what happens to people. I don't think anything else is even possible to happen. Yes, it is. It is possible to have a different relationship with it, but that's how it often goes. Where you sort of crush yourself under the weight of your own expectations. But again, that's what Witch Hat is in some part about. It's about trying to hold on to that, to the love of it. It's about trying to make art feel like that again. Which it can. It's just about changing your relationship to it. She's so fucking cute. I relate to that excitement. I remember it. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, copy the big complicated one, Coco. This is another important thematic moment. Coco doesn't know what she's drawing. I didn't want to interrupt this scene because it's important. And it's beautiful, too. I knew it was beautiful. I'd seen clips of it already. It's such an... Again, it's about art, right? And the core of the art of the witch, right? The core of witchcraft is drawing spells into reality. And you can make new spells if you know the symbols and the seals and like how they all fit together. It's creativity, right? It's bringing forth something from your own soul. And in so doing, like, you understand what you're putting into the world, right? Because you made it. You built this thing from scratch. You built it from understanding all of the components and what they do. What Coco does here is she doesn't know what she's drawing. She doesn't know what the seals do. She doesn't know what any of it means. She just knows the shape of it, right? And so she just copies a thing that she cannot understand because, well, because normal people aren't supposed to understand magic, right? Like, they're not supposed to understand how it works, so she cannot know. And her only way of learning, right? What she's trying to do is learn. What she's trying to do is find out how it works, and the only option she has for doing that is copying, right? She has to trace it bit by bit to try and figure out, okay, what does this do? What does that do? And you can see that she's having success with it, right? She's experimenting her way through. She's figuring out that bigger ones are more powerful than smaller ones. Neatly drawn ones last longer, right? And she's running into the limits of her ability. And it's working for her. She's learning. She's figuring it out. But because she doesn't know what she's meddling with, this is not a spell that she created of her own will, right? This is someone else's spell that she's just sort of copying, trying to figure it out. But she doesn't know what the spell is made to do, right? Like, what it was constructed to do. What is the will of the spellcaster, the person who created the drawing? And because she doesn't know, and God, the fucking drawing animation again. Because she doesn't know, this happens, right? Because this was a trap. Like, I don't think it's too much to say that, like, the witch gave Coco the spellbook and the wand so that this would happen. This was what that witch intended, was for someone to get their hands on a spellbook and figure out how to do it without understanding what it is that they are doing, so that something like this could happen. Why would they want that? Well, that's for later in the story, but that was what was done. That was the plot. Animating Keyfree on ones here. Again, so he can have this very smooth, sudden, like when he suddenly grabs her. And I will say, the examination of what it is that that witch wants, it's not just cartoon villainy, right? It's like, it's not good, but there is more to it than that. It's a little thing, but you see the way that the drawing, because she tore the page out of another book, you see the way that the page has these little holes in it? They kind of look like the holes on top of animation paper when you're drawing it like on an old school animation table with a thing, because you attach it with two pins at the top so you can flip through it, and it kind of has that look. Yeah, I could kind of tell seeing it in motion that this was all hand drawn, but Jesus fucking Christ. They hand animated the whole camera move in the room. And again, props to the lighting people who have to manage all the shadows from the camera motion and the way that the characters are moving. The panel of Keyfree grabbing her, by the way, again, in the manga, such a gorgeous panel, because it's terrifying, right? It's a fucking stranger grabbing you in the middle of the night. It's terrifying. Just, this is a shot where you would have been more justified than anything in the world to use 3D to get a subtle camera move like that, and they don't. They just hand animate that shit with 12 billion miles of lighting effect over top of it. God damn. And again, all the attention that's being paid to fabric. Keyfree isn't just wearing a cloak and a robe. He's got that shit on, right? Just the sheer volumetric amount of motion in it. The little run he does in the air like he's Yoshi. Ba 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 da ba ba da. Or I guess Luigi in some of the games, when he jumps high, he'll do a little air run as well. And you can see the detail. You see that little spell seal on the bottom of his shoe? They draw attention to it so nicely. Just Iron Man boots on command. Really, so much of the work here is being done by the visual effects artists as well, right? Because the very sudden motions that he's making, right? We have this very chaotic set of camera moves, right? Where we're swinging, we're inside the building, we're outside, like we're sort of, the camera's pulling ahead of Keyfree a little bit, then Keyfree jumps, then he's above us, and then his feet, like, boom, gets, like, stamped basically right in our face. Don't get horny about that. And then he's, like, rocketed out. And then he comes back down. So much of what makes that work, so much of that motion is being trailed and traced by the visual effects, right? It's these bright green visual trails that sort of let us trace the motion and movement of what Keyfree is doing here. That's really well managed. Because one thing is making these big chaotic camera move shit. Like one thing is doing that. It's entirely another thing to make that read, right? Like to make that visible, plainly visible and readable to the audience. And the visual effects artists are doing a ton of work to make that happen. Again, so much cloth. Voice actor is giving a hell of a performance as Keyfree here as well. Poor Coco getting grabbed out of her bed and just yelled at in the air like that. And you can see the force of it, right? Like you can see how much he's shouting just by the way, like that little motion of like the way that his head pops forward. And so much attention being paid to the flow of their hair in the air. And that's important, right? Like, because with the shots being where they are, right? Like, we're very close in on them because this is an intimate scene, right? Like, this is a scene of very, like, close, intense dialogue between the two of them. This is a very intense scene, right? Like, so we are in very close so that we feel the intensity of him yelling. But because of that, we don't really have much of a background to go by, right? Like, we can see the starry sky sort of moving in the background. But in order to keep that sense of these characters are floating in the air, they're flying, that's the job of all of this fall and flow of all the hair and the fabric is keeping the wind flowing through them. And it really, like, a lot of the time when in anime you would do hair flying in the wind or fabric, you would just kind of make a loop, right? Like, you would make like a 3 to 5 frame loop of some a circular repeating flow motion, right? Like, where you have like hair in the air and it just kind of goes like wobble, 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 right? Where it's like, it's just this repetitive motion that doesn't distract too much, that doesn't take too much away from. But here, every frame, every movement and motion of the hair and cloth is bespoke. They're not relying on cycles. Oh, Jesus. I think... I can't tell. Yeah, no, some of it feels like it... No, it's not. Okay. Because of the glow, because of the flat color, I was like, this could be 3D generated if you wanted to. I think it's more likely layered animation where they're maybe repeating some elements of it, but it does look like, because you can see it when they burst forth here, it's smeared with like with hand-drawn speed lines. It could be a combination, but I think they hand drew all these fucking crystals. And like, good work on it too, because that looks so fucking scary. It's like, that's not just ice crystals that are sort of pling, oh, it's ice and snow. It's like, no, that's an avalanche coming for you. Jesus Christ. Oh, good God. So this scene, they have altered it a bit from the manga. The manga, it's not quite as... Coco's reaction is a bit different in the manga. She doesn't have this crying, screaming freak out at this point. She does eventually like smack Keyfree in the face and try to get away from him. But they don't render it like this. It's not as traumatic in the manga. Like, Coco doesn't, freak out quite as badly. And I think it's a good change. I think this moment should be visibly, like, it, not in the sense that it's not traumatic for her. Like, it haunts her. Coco is haunted by it. Don't you worry about that. But it's presented differently, right? Like, it's more like, essentially, Coco at the start of it, when this happens, she sort of dissociates a little bit from it, and she's sort of like, there's a part of her what feels like she doesn't quite believe that it's happened. And here they make that more visible in her acting by giving, like, she still has like a little bit of a freak out, but this is much more like, Jesus fucking Christ, right? This is a child having a full-on panic attack. it sort of has the... It's like someone trying to save someone who's drowning, and that person is freaking out so bad. And I like the strain of it, right? Like this is just... It's just flailing, right? It's just a child flailing and struggling and squirming and kicking and... And you can see just how much she's fucking freaked out, right? It's good character animation. And even still, the attention that's being paid to the cloth of it all, to the fabric. And you can see how, like, we have all this chaotic motion, like, with the cloth and everything. But here, when we get into this point of tension, right, where Coco has, like, stuck her feet under his chin and she's pushing to get away. So we get this buildup of, like, right, like this, where we get this tension building, that's all of a sudden we stop everything, right? Like everything gets much more still, so we can have this moment of strain and tension before she slips free. Right? And then the motion comes back to all the cloth. The other important thing about this scene, of course, is like part of why they've dialed up the horror of it is because it's another thematically important moment, right? Like, this is what happens when someone who doesn't know what they're doing meddles with powers that they have no way to understand, right? Like, this is the danger of magic. Yeah, magic is wonderful. It provokes wonder, right? Magic is terrific. It causes terror. To borrow a quote from Sir Terry Pratchett. This is why wars happened and had to be controlled. Well, that's the question, Carl Erickson. That's one of the questions that Witch Hat Atelier is examining, is how do you deal with power that's that dangerous, right? Like, how do you keep the world safe from the consequences? Can you control it? And if you can, who has the right to do that, right? Who has the right to control that kind of power? However dangerous it is. Those are some of the questions that Witch Hat Atelier is trying to deal with. And it's... I certainly have my standpoint, but it's not necessarily as simple as thing good, thing bad. Look at the fucking cloth animation. Look at the light playing through that shit. Because it's not just that they're animating the outline of the cloth, it's also, again, here we're really copying the manga closely. So the animator is not just animating the outline of the cloth, they're animating these fucking little lines, right? You see the way that they extend and stretch and spread out bit by bit as the cloth is moving, all across the volume, outlining it. These little waves, these little These little flows of stippled lines along the edges, giving it volume, appearing and disappearing. Fuck me, that must have taken forever. That must have taken 500 million years. You can see it here under Coco's arms, right? Like, and where Keyfree is holding her. God damn. 500 million years. And again, you can see these things, right? Like where, because the focus of this shot is the cloth, right? This moment of revelation. Apocalypse, essentially. Everything in the image is moving. All the hair, the ribbon, the cloth, everything. And so the characters themselves, their bodies, are kept stock still, right? And we just have the speech animation from Keyfree. A little bit of movement in his jaw, lips, but no motion from the bodies, right? Because the focus of this shot is the stillness of their interaction against this billowing, terrifying, to a certain extent, like lit from below. God help me, it's pretty. Someone drew all this. All of it. Every pixel. All of this is something someone drew. Someone sat down and put it on paper. Well, digital paper, as the case may be, but you're seeing a human hand here. A person. All those little lines. All those little chicken scratches. Warping and moving and changing shape. Now that is some real magic. That grip, that like grab and pull, and you can see the little effect where it pulls him just a little bit forward. And the butterfly is back. Because of course it is. And the cinematography here is good as well, because we start in the middle of the night, right? Like, this is the middle of the night, pitch black, right? It's a dark night of the soul, quite literally. And then as Keyfree begins to concoct his plan, that's when the sun starts to rise on the horizon. Oh, we'll get to this fucking shot. Don't you worry about that. And that's the moment when he says, "You will be a witch." The sun rises. And of course, Coco is the sun. Thematically, in the shot here. It's beautiful. And again, this is something that you should keep in mind. This idea of Coco as the sunrise, right? As the sunrise after a long, dark night. Keep that thematic idea in mind, because it's gonna come back. I like this fisheye, whatever, this lens effect that they're doing where she just zeroes in. She remembers that the books are there, right? So everything else in the scene loses color and turns gray, except the books, because she remembers the witch had more of them. I want a 4K version of this fucking shot. Because I want to be able to zoom in and see that completely, but like, goddamn. I've said it many times before, but rotations are a bitch and a half. Especially with very complex characters that have a lot going on. Animating them rotating about their own central axis is not easy, especially if you want them to give a performance at the same time, like an acting performance, like what Coco does here. I'm interested in how they do. So I think the background must be layered, right? Because the background has parallax scrolling relative to itself. How did they achieve that, though? Like, look at this. You can see how that bit goes faster than that bit, which is what gives it that sense of rotation. Did they just arrange it in layers? And then just scroll? Because that's the usual thing you would do, is you would, like, you'd see this in old Disney movies, like back when they still did 2D animation by hand. This is one of the things that, like, this is one of the little technical tricks in Snow White, the original, is that they had this multiplane photographing camera that could photograph, like, multiple planes of animation cells. And that's a technique that you still use today in a lot of anime, where you will have like one layer and then one layer and then one layer and then one layer, and they all move at different rates relative to each other, and that's how you achieve like the sense of rotation. This looks like they're doing maybe some of that, but also it looks like they're warping the image. It looks like they're distorting it. Like, it looks like they're literally doing like some kind of warp to imitate the effects of a lens distortion, maybe. Interesting. That's a really interesting way to achieve, like, because it gives it that sense of scale, right? Like, it gives it that sense of bigness, that this is a huge, enormous landscape spinning beneath them. It looks great. It's just, I wonder exactly how they put it together. More rotations. And it's such a complex design to do a rotation with, too. And you can see little things. Like how Keyfree changes the way that he's holding her a little bit. Shifts his fingers. And it's another one of those camera moves, right? Like where we start above looking down, and then as the camera comes down around, like we're sort of looking much more even straight on. And then we go real in close. Like, God, imagine having to fucking animate that. Not just the characters rotating, but also the relationship to the camera changing and changing and changing. I wonder, presumably they'll have the animator do that animation first against like with a 3D camera background as like a reference for how they should move, and then you would have to match the camera motion in the background to the animation, right? You wouldn't do it the other way around? Or does it make more sense to create the background and create the camera shot first and have the character animator animate to it? Maybe it makes more sense to have the background first. Probably the background. I like the little swoop here. As we come in over, like, Keyfree is forming his plan, right? Like, how's he gonna deal with this? So he pulls Coco up a little closer. And when he says this, right, like, will you keep our secret? He's whispering in her ear. He's not looking her in the eye. Right? And he's looking at something else. He's looking at a horizon that Coco can't see right now. As Keyfree lays out the bargain. But then he does look her in the eye, right? Like, when he promises her that she will be a witch, he's looking her in the eye, right? Again, Keyfree is a complex character. He has some of his own shit going on. There's a debate to be had about the extent to which he's acting in Coco's best interest. Because certainly when he's thinking about his own shit, right? Like, he's not looking at her, he's looking somewhere else. But in the end, he does look her in the eye. Right? He makes that promise directly to her. With attention, right? And with sincerity. Again, keep those things in mind about him. Because he's about to be a tricky son of a bitch. He's a very interesting co-protagonist. I wonder the extent to which it's intentional, but when they do the glow around Coco, right? They're doing it the same way they did the sparkles on her feet in her flashback, right? Like, with these motes of light smearing and stretching and floating around her. I wonder the extent to which that was an intentional production choice, or whether that's just how you would render an effect like that. Hard to say. I want to read Witch Hat Atelier. You should read it. You should read it. You should read it. I need people who love the anime to look at the drawings in the books. I need you to look at the drawings in the books. Yes, like, plot, action, character. Look at the drawings in the books. Look at the drawings. Please, look at the drawings. I cannot stress this to you enough. And I know, like, not everyone is going to be into it. I'm not sitting here saying, like, if you look at the drawings and you don't feel anything, you're a moron or whatever, or you're not smart, or you don't appreciate art. None of that bullshit. That's elitist garbage. I'm saying, if you sit down with this book and you pay attention, if you love the anime, if you love the characters, if you sit down with the book and you pay attention to the drawings, really pay attention and go slow, there might be some treasure in there for you. Not for everyone. Nothing is for everyone. But I have found treasure in there. I want you to have the opportunity to find it too. The chance, at least. Even if it's not for you, give it a shot. Please read Witch Hat Atelier as well. It's so The gesture drawing. I'm gonna make some videos about this. Fuck it. I'm doing best panels of Witch Hat Atelier for the short channel. That's what I'm fucking doing. I need people to see how good. I need people to see how good those drawings are. I really do. Because the anime is doing an astonishingly beautiful job of it. It really is. I did not think Witch Hat could be adapted in a way that would sort of pay respect to how pretty the art is in the manga. They have managed it with this first episode. Presumably, they can't keep up this level of quality every single episode. Even Freerun doesn't do that. The first episode is more like a little 25-minute movie, essentially. And also, not every episode is going to need this level of, like, extreme dedication to detail. The first episode is always the one that's supposed to catch people's attention, and my goodness, does it do that. Fucking hatching in the background, like motherfuckers. I see what you're doing. The drawings are something different, but they are special. The anime is special on its own, but the drawings are special in a different way. I just want people to see them. Fucking hell. Yeah, go read Witch Hat Atelier.